As a part of OSPI's Inclusionary Practices Project, funded by our state legislature, the AESD is working with over 140 school teams across the state of Washington to improve and increase inclusionary practices, as Washington State is ranked one of the lowest for inclusive education. Students with disabilities are often excluded from core instruction, and this project seeks to address educational inequities experienced by students. Inclusion means that all students have a right to purposefully participate in the general education setting, both academically and socially. It is also a philosophy based on the fundamental understanding that all children are competent, capable, and should be held to high expectations. There's no such thing as an average learner. Research shows us that every child has a unique set of learning needs, strengths, preferences, and interests. When educators find ways to offer choices and flexibility in classrooms, all learners flourish. Hello, my name is Cassie Stevens, and I am currently serving as the Inclusionary Practices Project Lead for the AESD. We are beyond excited to share with you this compilation of video interviews from a few of our teams participating in the project. As you listen to their voices, we encourage you to learn more, get involved, and spread the word about the importance and impact of improving inclusive education, not only for our students with disabilities, but for all learners.
So I see this work changing my school's culture and instilling the belief that all students can achieve their maximum potential, where before students were separated according to ability and functioning levels, where now we are impassioned towards serving our students as a whole school community.
Our current way of serving students with disabilities is not the most effective. Our students with disabilities are pulled out of the classroom to receive the services as outlined in their individual educational plans. This creates further gaps in their learning because they're pulled out of core content time. We have one resource room teacher trying to serve all of the students with disabilities in our building.
I just felt like, oh my goodness, where has this been all my life? I saw immediate connections between UDL, not only with special education, students with disabilities, but also students who are learning additional languages, twice exceptional students, and everything in between.
When you step into administration, you see that it's not 30 kids, it's hundreds of kids. That really, for me anyway, shifted the urgency and the desire to do something.
Every student that comes to our school is a general education student. If we start with that basis, then inclusionary practices is the only choice. But I also think that the strengths that we can lean into is the desire of our staff to continue to learn and grow and change and do what's right for our kiddos.
Just changing the teaching practices that are happening in our district is something I'm excited for the future.
Anything that we can do that will give those kids a leg up is just so needed. They do not feel excluded like they're some special person in a bad way.
The inclusionary model automatically makes a team between the special education staff and the general ed staff. There's kind of an invisible line, but with inclusionary, that line disappears because it's a team working for the goals of all students. And I think it opens the door for teachers to just be together and teach. And I think that is so powerful.
It'll benefit all students. They'll all have the same opportunity to access core content so that they're fully prepared at the end of the year, not only to show their understanding, but so that they can build onto that in the following school year.
I believe it's very important. Coming from a parent of a child with a disability, they need that inclusionary. They need that sense of what it's like to be outside of a life skills classroom.
Before we started this work, we were very secluded and away from everybody. Because I do work in a self-contained classroom, I have noticed that my kiddos don't get time with other peers. And now I can recognize children walking down the hallway, and my students recognize other teachers, and it's nice to feel like we're part of the school community.
This year I had a student placed in my room that has a visual impairment. We were able to put together a lesson for the rest of the kids about Braille. The student was able to come to the front of the room and answer questions about it. That was his thing. He does Braille, no one else does, and he thought it was so funny. I think that he has given us a gift. We've learned Braille. My kindergartners are gonna leave kindergarten knowing Braille. All general education classrooms deserve that opportunity to learn from others, like we've had that opportunity to do.
I'm most proud of the kids that are engaged. Even teachers who haven't been involved in inclusion are coming to me and saying these kids are actually engaged and they believe they can do it and they think they can do the work. Teachers are starting to see they can do the work and kids are starting to get the buy-in.
It's important for us because our son he has loss of sight. He used to be afraid to go to school, but once he got here, he was able to get out of his comfort zone.
His teacher had the class do a lesson on Braille for them to make their own little Braille letters. They had like the Braille cell with the muffin tin and they got to put the balls in there, and like that was really cool.
It just made his confidence just boost because then everybody was coming to him, wanted to know more about him. His independence has grown immensely.
He's made some little friends. She writes some little love notes. It cheers me up. They'll give her like one end of the, what's that word?
A handkerchief.
Handkerchief. And she'll pull them to the swings.
A small little thing that they do here that is a big impact.
I see it as changing the mindset for those other children that are in a classroom, to see the other side, and also from my son's perspective to see the other side of what it's like to be in a gen ed classroom.
It's had almost a ripple effect. When we first started with one teacher, one classroom, the more that teachers became aware of it, the more excitement and the excitement for students, the more and more teachers got on board.
A lot of the challenges are kind of fall into two camps, the mindsets that people have and then the logistics of making things happen. Kind of freeing yourself to the idea that this is a total shift, it's going to be totally different. On the logistical side of things, making some changes ahead of time to help facilitate the process, making sure that our master schedule allows students in life skills and choices to be able to go seamlessly into specials like PE or art with the kids in my gen ed classrooms.
One of the systems that we're really looking at is revisiting how teachers plan and looking toward the pieces of the universal design for learning. So teams meet collaboratively and they have some really well-planned units. And then also the way that students perform on assessments, we're looking at restructuring our analysis process so that they are specifically looking at their students with disabilities and those students on the cusp of needing services so that they can provide the most impactful instruction.
Inclusionary practices is a big machine and there's lots of moving parts and things are going to come up that we have not expected. Anything this big and dynamic is going to require a lot of patience and grace and the ability to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. That and knowing who to reach out for to support when things come up that we did not expect.
Time to plan. If I have supports coming into my room and I want them to be familiar with the strategies I'm using, we need time to be able to teach the support person the different strategies so that when they come walking in the classroom, they're going to know what to do and what the expectations are. I need a chance to model my teaching to them so they can come and observe me to see how the classroom goes. I could see them walking around just kind of floating, making sure that whoever's needing help can get support.
It's huge on teamwork. I think kids see two adults working together on a lesson and showing different ways to solve problems.
If there is a problem, how do grown-ups approach that with each other?
The value that you have in just collaborating with your team, either your grade level team or your school team, and really being comfortable with those teammates so that you can share your idea of bias.
This is going to be, I think, a paradigm shift in education. We've moved into things like equity and now inclusivity. I think they're much more important because they're societal changes. Not only is it really important, but I think it's also kind of the right time to do it.
It's energizing to see that this is where Yakima School District is moving towards into the future. The benefits that students are going to have from feeling that sense of belonging.
Even our probably most reticent teachers are now coming on board and asking to be a part of the project. Excitement from the students is all building towards that these students would be included in the regular classroom.
We have a boy that comes from a 15-minute recess every day.
I have a student in my class who's real quiet, who doesn't have a lot of friends. When this student came from life skills, they found each other. They run and they kind of chase and they play hide and seek in the little woods. If the boy hadn't come from the other classroom into our room, my student wouldn't have had that friend to play with. So that's why we need to have inclusion.
It should be what kids need. Like if you need glasses, you get glasses. If you need reading support, you get reading support. Every child should be getting what they need.
It's been a gift for my general education students and for all general education students who get to experience this. At the end of the day, those moments that you see the kids connecting and learning have been worth it. All the adults who were there knew we were part of something really special.